However, there are some issues with the approach taken by the Dutch government. Generally, the Dutch government does not like regulation very much. Instead, it likes to have a progressive agenda but is careful not to limit Dutch companies too much. The Dutch government rather organizes a sector process, ensuring everybody agrees on the agenda and allowing Dutch companies such as Shell to regulate themselves pursuant to the government's progressive agenda on food security. Currently, the most affected by the production of biofuels in Brazil have been the Guarani tribe. The community was not consulted and the project was met with rejection by the locals. Once fertile Guarani homeland has been appropriated by large corporations, and the destruction of the forest has meant that hunting and fishing are no longer possible, and there is barely enough land even to plant crops. Malnutrition is a serious problem, and since 2005, at least 53 Guarani children have died of starvation. Now, we move to the second example, the use of genetically modified organisms. Genetic modification can be described as modification of living organisms, plants, animals, and fish, through the manipulation of genes. In relation to agriculture, this would mean that certain crops could be genetically modified in order to better endure the changing climate, or could even provide more nutrients, which will result in the need for less quantities. A good example of using genetic modification for food security is the case of dealing with Panama disease that attacked Cavendish banana. Cavendish banana makes up for around 85% of the world trading bananas. The fruit is high in nutrients, grown in many underdeveloped countries, and is grown by many farmers who are dependent on its harvest for their food. Unfortunately, this plant is threatened by the Panama disease, and without a cure, the Cavendish banana could go extinct within 5 years. The University of Wageningen led a research on the genetic modification of the Cavendish banana plant to make it resistant to the disease, sponsored for the most part by the Dutch government. The Dutch government is required to protect biotechnological inventions under national patent law according to EU Directive 98/44 in conjunction with the TRIPS agreement. Given the territoriality of patent rights, the patent holder cannot exercise his or her rights outside the jurisdiction where the patent has been registered, but he or she can prevent the importation of products made elsewhere containing the invention. Intellectual property rights can on the one hand encourage innovation, technology diffusion, and growth. On the other hand, IPR protection may lead to monopoly power for patent holders. There is an inherent danger that the IPR's approach could lead to corporations being granted monopoly privilege over life forms. In cases such as Cavendish banana, this may happen to competitiveness particularly of poor farmers in developing countries who couldn't access the Panama disease-resistant crops. To conclude, the case of Shell subsidiaries land acquisition and Wageningen Cavendish GMO show how the Dutch policy implementation can give not only positive but also negative contributions towards attaining global food security.